This week's Seder of Ki Seitzei, we are presented with the halacha of lo savan of laso al ha'etz, that when an individual, according to the opinion of the Chachamim, has either engaged as a megadef or an oid of avodas kachavim, if he's either blasphemed the name of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, or he is engaged in idolatry, he receives skila, he is stoned by the people, and thereafter he is first hung up for all to see. But the pasuk tells us, lo solin nevlasu alo eitz, that we're not permitted to have his remains on that stake beyond shkia, beyond sundown. Why is that? Ki kover tikurenu bayomahu, for he has to be buried yet during the course of the day upon which he was hanged. Ki kilalasa lehim taloi, because the image, as it were, or the potential embarrassment or cursing of a Kadosh Baruch Hu taloi is suspended there. And Rashi explains that since an individual is created in the image of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, we're created in the divine image of God, as it were, representing him in a mini-divine way of doing divine things within the course of our lives in order to better alter the world towards a state that a Kadosh Baruch Hu would be proud of. So, Mashal Shnei Achim Ta'omim, this is really comparable to twins. Shahayu Dom Zelazet, the two brothers who were identical twins, one looking exactly like the other. Echo Naaseh Melech, one embraced a lifestyle that ultimately led to his being coronated as a king. V'echo Nitfas the Listius Vinitla, whereas the other gravitated towards becoming a highwayman, and ultimately, in fact, was hanged. Kolaroa also, a passerby who would see this individual suspended from a high tree or from a high stake, Omer might be prone to say, why look, HaMelech Toloi, it is none other than the king who is hung there, and therefore see to it that the individual is buried prior to sundown. And simple pshat here is that because of a mistaken identity of a potential of an individual erring and assuming that it is the king that has wronged so and was thus hanged in infamy, therefore take down that highwayman and see to it that he's buried before Shkia. But isn't it possible, based upon the Mishnah Novos, that tells us that we're supposed to think of three things in order not to end up sinning? And the last one is, we need to remind ourselves before whom we will ultimately stand in order to present a din, a judgment, and a cheshbon, and a calculation. And it was no less than the Grav, the Vilna Gaon, who said, din refers to what we have done and should not have done, and that which we are punishable for. Cheshbon refers not to that which we did, so much as that which we failed to do, and we could have been accomplishing in the time that we were sinning. And so perhaps, therefore, if we look back at the pasuk, pshat in the pasuk could be, why do you need bury that individual prior to sundown? Ki killas Elohim taloi. Because as Rashi said, Mashal Shnei Achim Ta'omim Shelidomim Zelazeh, twins, identical twins. One became a king, and the other became a highwayman. And any passerby would say to himself, my gosh, look at that person who was hanged on that tree. He was a highwayman, but he could have been a king. He could have been a melech. Oh, what a cheshbon. Oh, what a calculation and accounting for and accountability is imposed upon that individual for not having lived his life otherwise, becoming a king instead of a highwayman. In this month of Elul, as we approach the bench, it's ours to remember this. Are we living our lives in a kingly fashion? Or nebuch? Are we engaging in a mistaken identity in which we ourselves fail to realize just whom we could have become? Have a wonderful Shabbos.